Welcome to the G3 Show. This is episode 2, and I am your host and guest star and producer, Ruben Quinones. As you can see, we've had done a few upgrades to the show because of our expanded budget. So hopefully you'll see that our program gets better from week to week. One thing we're introducing this week is a student of the week. Every week, starting this week, I'm going to give some shout outs to some of you who I thought did a fantastic job. For the Bay Area, Asfia Ahmed is the student of the week. Congratulations. And her question of the day had the most replies, or was tied with the most replies. And her work was prompt, her work was excellent. She asked good questions. She responded to other people's questions. Just a great all-around job, so thank you very much. And for the Sacramento group, Amber Mitchell, congratulations, you are the student of the week. You had the most posts in question of the day. You had also, I think, the most replies to your question, tied for the most, with 5 replies to your questions, which means you asked a great question that people had a lot to say about. And your comments were great also. They were informative and inquisitive and just excellent all around. Speaking of all-around excellence, I was very impressed with your work from week 1. Your the welcome assignment, welcome video assignment, the question of the day, and the first assignment, treasure hunt. All of them were really, really good. There were only a few people that I had to go back and correct. Most of you got the 3 questions correct, which were that there are 3 posts required for full points for the question of the day. That my feedback to you will be given in the comment box, which appears to the next to, I think it's to the right from your view also, of your assignment. And by the way, I left a comment for each and every one of you. After I gave you a grade, I posted something like thank you, or some comment about something that you'd written. So if you didn't see that, you're probably not looking in the right place, because I did leave something for every person. And then the main assignment, which was the treasure hunt, was great too. You guys all gave it, I could see you gave it great attention. You used Control F to find the information that you were looking for. Again, that's a really big resource, and part of the intention of that assignment was for you to learn to find what you're looking for out there. Given a big resource, you have to be able to find what you need relatively quickly and accurately. One little pro tip I have for you is when you press Control F to find a word, sometimes if it's too short, it'll return too many returns. So for example, searching for EOP will also return the word people, because PEOPLE contains EOP. So a tip is for you to try writing with a space bar, either before either before or after that. So if you did space, EOP space, I think it only returns 1 hit, whereas EOP by itself is something like 22, I think. So you can try EOP space. If that doesn't work, just try different permutations of that to show that it's either the beginning of the word or the end of the word. Other than that, I thought your responses were good for that section, and it was nice for me to read the second page where I asked you a little bit more personal things. It is not easy for me to be the instructor of people whose names are on a list. It really helps me a lot to know what schools you're at, some of your history, what you're teaching now, and that kind of thing. The CPR card is something Carmi Preston will deal with, so if you have any questions about that, about certification or anything, just a class or whatever, email her directly. You'll still submit it within our module G3, but she has access to it and she will check that out. So if you have any questions, let her know. And speaking of questions, will I have questions in every video? Probably not, but in this video there will be questions, so you need to pay attention because the questions are coming at the end of the video. Yes, it is a trick to make you watch the whole thing, and I think it's a good trick. Also, messaging me within Schoology is a fantastic way to get a hold of me, but if you want to get a hold of me even faster, or you want to talk to a live person, you can text me or call me. My number is 925-300-8448. One more time, that's 925-300-8448. Meat and potatoes. This is the main event in tonight's video. I want to talk to you about a particular linguistic term called semantic drift. Semantic drift refers to how the meaning of a word can slowly change over time. Semantic means the meaning, and drift is to slowly move away from something. This refers to the way that sometimes we can track the meaning of a word or the connotations of a word and see how it's changing, how maybe just 10 or 20 years before we never used it in this particular context, or we always used to use it in this context and now it's changed so much that it doesn't even apply in the same situations anymore. A couple of quick examples. One, the word computer nowadays only refers to machines, but in the 50s and 60s it could have referred to a human who did computing, who did calculations. They would be called computers. So in Hidden Figures, the book and the movie about the black women who worked for NASA, was about computers, meaning the people, not computers, the machines. Likewise, the word colored used to be usable to refer to black people through the 60s, 70s. I think in the 70s it died out. I'm not totally sure when it stopped being cool to say colored. But certainly by the 80s it's not the right word. However, in the 90s, the term person of color arose. And I remember the first time I heard it, it made me laugh because person of color sounds a lot like colored person. One of those terms is laughable, one of those terms is dead serious. But I will never use the word person of color just because it has too strong of a connotation for me still. The point of all this is the term safe. So the term safe, the word safe for hundreds of years used to mean free from physical danger. If there is a fire, you need to run out of that building until you find a safe place. We don't drive around without seatbelts or with bad brakes because that is not safe. Now, of course, lately we've been using this term to apply to, I guess it would be not free from danger, but free from discomfort, right? Free from emotional discomfort, I suppose it is. But certainly distinct from physical threat, right? So we can talk about having a safe, having a safe place. This is a safe place for you. Not meaning there's not going to be a fire or a tiger in here, but rather you will not feel any emotional discomfort in this location. But I do think we should avoid using the term safe to apply to emotional comfort. Meaning, when we do that, we risk equating a person's emotional state with their physical state. To me, they're so different as to need a sort of a distinction in term. The word welcoming means what you want it, what people mean when they say safe. We want this to be a welcoming place, meaning Emotionally, you should not feel like you need to leave the room. You're here. You can stay. This place is for you. And I do think that we need to make our classrooms welcoming. In fact, I talk about this a lot. Our classes should be welcoming. However, I don't believe that they should be free from discomfort. The reason is simply this, that when you are confronted with new ideas, by new ideas, you should feel some sort of discomfort. It shouldn't feel right to you, and maybe it shouldn't feel safe in terms of you don't need to react to anything, right? On the contrary, I think that a good classroom, a good learning environment, is going to challenge people. It's going to take people out of their comfort zone and force them to recognize differences between how they think and what they see in the world. We see this also in sports, of course. No pain, no gain. So we sort of inherently understand that if you want to get stronger, you need to work out. And a workout does not exist without the work, that is the effort. And that does include pain and discomfort. So likewise, we should, so in the same way, our classrooms should always be welcoming, but I don't think they should always be comfortable. We should be welcoming and challenging at the same time. So James had a question in Question of the Day that addressed that difference, that I think was basically wondering how comfortable should we make our classrooms while still providing a challenging environment. So there are two books that I wanted to mention that go along with this concept. One is Anti-Fragile, which is by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and he talks about systems, organisms, and likewise organisms and systems that get stronger with stress. That is, the more you test them, the stronger they get. So not only individuals but also teams can become stronger and stronger the more hardships they have to deal with. Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother is a more well-known book, and that's by Amy Chua, who is a great writer. And she writes about how Chinese mothers are really harsh with their children. But she says, I'll quote this, that a Chinese mother, that attitude of not worrying so much about the child's self-esteem, but of demanding excellence, it assumes strength, not fragility. And as a result, they behave very differently. It makes sense. If you are not going to accept any grade lower than an A from your child, it shows that you assume that that child is perfectly capable of an A, and therefore anything less than that would be a disappointment. It would not be living up to its potential. On the other hand, if a child brings home a C and says, hey, if that's the best you can do, that's the best you can do, because you don't want to hurt their feelings because they didn't get an A or a B, then it really is. I see that it could have the opposite of the intended effect. You could be saying to the child, I don't expect any more from you. That's probably the best you can do, but as long as you're happy with not doing the best you can do, with not living up to your potential, then we're okay with it. So it is about high expectations, and it is about knowing that in order to get stronger, we do need to do difficult things. So another distinction that we're trying to make is that of feeling safe at school and truly being safe at school. And so there were a couple of quotes in the Question of the Day that I'd like to read to you that really kind of get at this. So if you will just listen, I'll read it for you. Just relax, I'll read it. Annie wrote this. The question was, do you feel safe at school? I've been asked this question before, likely by my mom, but I've tried not to think about it too much. I think that is because at the end of the day, I really don't feel safe at my school. I pride myself in building rapport with students, but after a mentally ill student stood up in the middle of class and started yelling horrible things at me, I realized that having a good relationship with my students, while helpful, is no guarantee of my safety. right after that, Shyla responded. Her response was this: "Personally, I feel safe at my school site, even though I'm aware of a lot of shortcomings we have when it comes to typical safety standards. I have had concerns about the lack of safety drills and overall emergency procedures, but nothing that has led me to feel as if I'm in actual danger. I guess my answer to the question of whether or not I feel safe does not align with whether or not I would actually be saved by the policies and procedures we have in place if or when an unsafe situation presented itself. Overall, the people I work with and the sense of community I feel from everyone around campus makes me feel safe enough to continue to work there happily." So I would say yes, it is important to feel safe. That is, if you feel unsafe, that is, in danger, it's really, really hard to learn in that situation. And so we see a lot of, that's why you read about PTSD from a traumatic situation. Those students and those people will have a really hard time focusing. When you are in physical danger, it's very hard, or feel like you're in physical danger, there's a physical threat, it is really hard to think of anything abstract, to pay attention to anything that is sort of not physically here present. Reading a book about American history, for example, would feel useless if you really feel like someone's going to hurt you. So feeling safe is actually really important thing for a school. However, there's only so much we can do to prepare, and you could keep worrying about every possible threat out there, but I don't think there's anything we can do in the end to guard against every possible threat. Last year during this time we had the shooting, the Parkland shooting in Florida, where we saw that even having an armed security officer on campus is not enough of a deterrent, or a good enough solution. Just like Annie, I feel like having a great relationship with my students is really important, especially considering that a lot of the violence at schools comes from people within the school or graduates from that school who have come back, sort of disgruntled students, almost always male students who come back. So what I mean is that the point of all of this is not to one day create absolute peace on every campus across America, but we do have the responsibility of being prepared. We must be prepared, and we must know that we have done what we could, what was within our power, to create and maintain a safe environment. So if you know that something could be improved and then choose not to bother with it, for example, fire drills, you know what a fire drill is and you know that you need to practice them, but you don't just so that you can save that time or because nobody wants to take it on, that is a big problem, because fires do happen from time to time. And so that's my attitude, is that if you know what you can do to make a place safer and then don't do it, you better pray that nothing bad happens, because a lot of that will be on you. It is your responsibility to enact and practice the safety policies and procedures that are given to us, that we do know about, that we can handle. So that's it for this week's lesson. The assignment that goes along with that is for you to do an interview of your school safety coordinator. And I have the list of questions for you in the separate assignment. It's available in a Word document also, or a Google document. So if you want to type your answers into that as you're interviewing the person, whatever, or you can record them, audio recording, and then transcribe that if you'd like. When you do transcribe the interview, please use first person in your answer. So if you say, "What is your name?" don't write, "Her name is Shirley." Write, "My name is Shirley." You know, write what they say. Don't switch the perspective on that. And here's your first opportunity for extra credit. If you give me the audio interview, if you attach the audio interview with your assignment, I'll give you 5 extra points. So that's 105 points instead of 100. Or if you give me a video, send a video or attach a video, then that will be 10 extra points. So you could get 110 points for this assignment. Part of that assignment also includes an org chart, and an org chart looks like this. And every school is supposed to have one, and we need to determine what the responsibilities are, and who is going to take care of each of these things. One person could not possibly do them all. The safety plan, org chart, and the safety plan itself are part of Ed Code. Every district is responsible for it, and the districts sort of pass that on to the schools. Schools usually assign this task to the school site council, but somebody has to be in charge of this thing ultimately. Oftentimes it's a VP or the principal. So anyway, you'll see who it is. You need to ask around in your school, but I think you'll learn a lot about how your school is organized and the drills and things as a result of this assignment. Some of your people might be uncomfortable with sharing names or details of drills or anything like that with other people. They might think that that's a bad idea, which is fine. It's cool. But just to let you know, it's just going to stay internal with us. We'll share that information with each other, but it's not going to be broadcast out into the greater world. Okay. The other assignment is a perimeter walk reflection. So this is actually, I think, a really fun assignment. Sometime in the next week, you need to walk the perimeter of your school. And then give me a short reflection on what you saw, what you noticed, what you learned. Definitely, you're going to have some impressions about your campus as a result. So I look forward to that. And I do have 3 questions for you for this video. Question number 1 is, who were the students of the week? Question number 2, what's the term for how the meaning of a word can change over time? And give me an example that I didn't use. Give me a new example. And question number 3, actually I want you to ask me a question. Ask me a question that you have that you think might be answered in this course, or that you would like to have answered in this module. Something that you think we'll talk about. I just want to know kind of what kinds of things are on your mind already. So I believe that's it. Okay, thank you so much for being patient and watching this whole thing attentively. Good luck with your assignments, and please let me know if you need any help with any part of it. Okay, I'll see you next week in episode 3.